Thank you, Chairman. The application is for the erection of a single-storey ancillary office building and associated works. The office building would accommodate existing university staff. The application is called before the committee by a local ward member as there were more than 5 representations. I'd like to draw your attention to the update sheet which corrects the location plan in the agenda report. The amended plan removes a parcel of land to the east of the application site which the applicant has confirmed was sold some time ago and does not form part of the university campus or indeed the application site. This has not altered the red line or the officer's recommendation set out in the agenda report. Furthermore, officers have a verbal update on page 20 of the agenda report, which makes reference to a condition regarding the control of dust during construction. Officers, having regard to the sort of scale of the proposal, do not feel it was necessary to include such a condition as part of the recommendation. Members will be aware of another current application at the university for the erection of 5 student accommodation blocks. This is a separate application and does not form part of the consideration or recommendation for the current application which we are considering tonight. So moving on to the presentation, this slide shows the location plan. You'll see in red here. Okay. So the application site is located to the northeastern corner of the UCA campus here. The application site comprises an area of hard standing currently used for car parking. The site slopes gently from the southeast to northwest. It's bound to the north and west by existing student accommodation and to the south by an existing service yard featuring storage containers and bins. The eastern boundary of the site abuts the boundary of the conservation area, which I've shown in purple here, and public footpath 86 follows this boundary. The closest residential properties to the application site would be the existing student accommodation to the northwest. Number 86 Castlefields would be 8 metres away from the application site. The closest residential properties to the application site would be the, moving on from there. The closest external residential properties would be 80 metres to the east, just off the location plan. The site is accessed by an existing access from the large public car park to the south here. So I've provided some site photographs here. Photograph A is taken from the southwest from the existing access road. Photograph B is from the east, looking towards the existing student accommodation. C is taken from the northwest, looking from the student accommodation, and D is taken from the northeast, looking across at the existing access. So I've provided some photographs external to the site. E shows the existing access from the car park. F shows the public footpath which runs along the eastern boundary of the site. G shows the car park, the main Farnham car park, and H shows the existing service yard to the south of the application site. So this slide shows the proposed elevations. The building would be single-storey and would be 3.91 metres in height. The building has been set down into the ground to provide level access via a shallow ramp to the west of the proposed building. This is a proposed perspective view. The building would be clad in vertical timber larch panels with aluminium framed fenestrations and a glazed entrance canopy and lighting bollards. In this slide, I've shown Hopfield House, which is an existing 2-storey ancillary office building to the west of the campus. The proposed office building subject to this application has been designed to match Hopfield House, albeit at single-storey. This slide shows the proposed floor plans. The building would provide an open plan, several open plan desk areas, meeting rooms and breakout areas. In conclusion, officers consider that the proposal would accord with development plan policies. The office would be visible from the conservation area to the east of the application site. However, owing to the single-storey nature, the setting down of the building and the boundary treatment, officers consider that the proposal would not be unduly prominent. It also benefits from its proximity to the existing access from the public car park. The proposal would not be harmful with regard to residential amenity. In terms of the matters of principle and technical opinion, drawing on two in particular, officers can comment as follows. With regard to car parking, the proposal would result in the loss of 20 parking spaces. The wider university site provides a further 379 spaces. The County Highway Authority has reviewed the transport statement submitted alongside the application and considers that the loss of 20 spaces would have no material impact on highway safety in terms of a displacement of parking. There is sufficient capacity in car parks within the town centre area to accommodate this. With regard to trees, the proposal would result in a loss of a number of trees. However, it is considered that the loss of these trees would not have a significant impact on visual amenity, and a number of trees are still retained. Officers have recommended that a condition be attached to any approval requiring the submission and agreement of a tree protection plan prior to commencement to ensure the protection of the remaining trees. In terms of the matters of judgment, which members are now asked to consider, these are the impact on residential amenity and the impact on the conservation area, design and visual amenity. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Philippa. I was very remiss and didn't introduce the officers before, so before I take the public speakers, could I just do that now to make sure everyone knows who we have sitting on the officers' table this evening? Thank you very much. On my far right, we have Lewis Jones from the legal team, Louise Yandel, who is the team leader for Western Area, Philippa Stadden, who has just presented the application, planning officer, and Elizabeth Sims, who is head of planning. So thank you very much for being here this evening. And can we move now on to public speaking? The first speaker is an objector. Could I ask Stephen Cochrane to come forward, please? I think Emma has shown you, but I have a feeling you've probably been here before. So it's the large button and 4 minutes when you start speaking.
Good evening. I know we'd all rather be at the football, but as an objector, we treat this matter as of extreme importance. Speaking on behalf of the immediate neighbours, I will comment on 3 points of objection: the location and impact on neighbours, poor design, and errors in the application. Firstly, the site of the proposed office building is an important part of a green space between the university on the one hand and the ancient public footpath and neighbouring residential on the other. 20 years ago, the proposed site, which had been in a conservation area, was part of a 4-acre woodland and included a pillbox, and is now occupied by the student halls. At the time of that planning application, there was a huge campaign of objection, resulting in a reduction in the final scale of the halls and assurances that there will be no further development on the east of the halls. The proposed office is on the extreme eastern boundary of the campus. Acceptance of the proposal would set a dangerous precedent for the infilling of the remaining green gap, a precedent that will make adding more modular units or a second floor relatively easy. Committee members may not be aware that the university paid for screening measures for a neighbour after the halls were built to mitigate issues of line of sight, noise and light. The proposed office is far closer to the neighbouring properties. Poor design. How does applying a veneer of wood to a monolithic block some 85 feet long and 14 feet high constitute a good design and be sympathetic towards policies covering the development on or adjacent to conservation areas? It is also interesting to note that one plan drawing shows plant equipment on the roof, but not on lateral plans. So what is the highest point on the building, and will these roof ancillaries generate noise? The loss of 5% of the university's parking at a time of major expansion is simply wrong and in direct contradiction to policies. Errors in the application. A number of the drawings misrepresent the real and legal position on the ground. The university and or their agents have repeatedly included the Saxby Softs garden within their curtilage, thereby giving the impression that the garden is roughly 70 feet away, not the width of a public footpath. The noise survey is based on an incorrect map. Not only does it not it shows incorrect curtilages, it completely misses a comparatively small bungalow nearby that had prior planning permission and is being built. The application should be thrown out until a satisfactory study is completed. The public consultation did not properly cover the office development and was based on the wrong curtilage, which the university's management failed to spot. It has appeared to have been separated out once the level of objection and sensitivity of the area was realised. In general, the residents have not objected to the expansion of the university. However, the university and the planners should understand that as residents we have been tolerant of a variety of student behaviours, which this green gap helps to mitigate. Between semesters, residents get a respite from the impact of student life. The office, yard and Hummer ventilation equipment will likely have a 365-day-a-year impact. In summary, we believe that the university, the planners and committee members should honour the reassurances that we were given to us by their predecessors, that this area would not be built on and should remain a green interlude between the university and their residential neighbours. In the hurry to expand, we don't think the university appreciates the importance attached to the physical and psychological gap, which allows the campus to rub along with the immediate community. It is hard to say no to an institution that brings largely positive benefits to the young people and the town. But we did it last time. The green gap was under threat, and with the current substantial expansion of the university, maintaining the gap is even more critical now for the sake of the university's future reputation and amiable coexistence with the community.
Thank you,
the planning
Mr. Cochrane.
application should be rejected.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Could you... Oh, no, leave it on. I think it'll be fine. Could I ask the supporters then, please, Emma Andrews and Russell Whittaker? I take it you're sharing in the 4 minutes, are you? So. And your 4 minutes again will start as soon as you start speaking. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Russell Whittaker and I'm the Director of Estates for the University of Creative Arts, and I'm here in lieu of Alan Cook, who's at a Board of Governors and sends his apologies. Thank you for giving the university an opportunity to speak to this application. The university is a successful arts university that is building its profile on a national and international base, and it's a very competitive world. To support this ambition, the university has a larger planning application that will come to the August committee to build 252 en-suite residences. The student residences project will remove an old and dilapidated mixed-use hall of residences and offices. This project tonight replaces the office component and enables the student residences to happen. In the university's view, this project is an essential enabling part of the university's future plans. And as regards to travel plan measures, we've already started alternative travel plan measures. We've got lift share schemes in place and negotiated discounted travel for staff and students.
Thank you. I'm Emma Andrews, planning consultant to UCA. So we believe that the building has been designed to not be totally invisible, but it's certainly not prominent in views from the conservation area and the wider area. The building has been sunk into the ground in discussions with officers, and as Philippa said in her report, is a similar appearance to Hopfield House. The scheme was included in the public consultation to explain the reasons for the residences, although details were not shown at that time. The similarity to Hopfield House was brought to people's attention when asked. The comment on the site location plan and the red and blue lines, which has now been corrected, that was an oversight in preparing the application submission. But the blue line delineates land ownership. It does not delineate curtilage. And there's no attempt to mislead. And as soon as the error was identified, it was put right and is now part of the application submission. So we believe that the application is technically correct and complete. and we request that members approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You finished, Mr. Whittaker, as well? Could I ask you to turn your microphone off? Thank you very much indeed, Ms Andrews and Mr Whittaker. We also have with us tonight the ward member, Councillor David Beeman, who will also have 4 minutes to speak, and I may even ask him to come back at the end if there's any extra he can add into the debate. So just wait for everyone to be comfortable, and then over to you, Councillor Beeman.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hasten to add, I'm not the member who brought it to the committee at this stage. I was not elected at that time, I don't think. Anyway, never mind. Just as an initial point, I am a member of the Farnham Town Council Planning and Licensing Consultative Group, which has discussed this matter, and I'm also a member of the Farnham Society's Planning Committee, which has discussed this matter. But the views I shall express tonight are my views and represent as a member of this particular ward. Superficially, this application seems quite straightforward, and I suppose in many ways it is. And we have to congratulate the university for its expansion plans. And I would say that I was a little surprised that it actually came this far, actually, to committee at this stage. But having said that, I think that there's been some confusion over boundaries, and there's certainly some concerns of local residents on Long Garden Walk, obviously. But I do think that if we, at the end of the day, there have been some measures taken in conditions, as trees and other factors, and in fact, I would find it very difficult in planning terms to reject this application, to be quite frank with you. And but I mean, it depends on whether whether there was in fact an agreement from 20 years ago, whether that exists or not, or whether that's something in somebody's mind. And I think that needs to be clarified before the final decision is taken. But generally, I think it would be very difficult. Sorry.
No, don't worry, I'll come back to Councillor Beeman at the end. I'm just trying to lip read the officers at the same time. You just carry on.
So I thought it was me because my sort of my Parkinson's is playing on my speech tonight. Okay. Yes. Okay. So really, so I would say that. Well, I would say that if there is no sort of agreement that this should be built on, then obviously it can go ahead. But that needs to be clarified before giving permission. But overall, I'd be supportive of the application.
Thank you, Councillor Beeman. No, it was the statement that you just made at the end that the officers were obviously looking a bit confused about. So if you've got an answer to that, please do come back now.
Okay, so there's nothing in the planning history that restricts building on that land, no sort of legal agreement or anything like that. Any sort of verbal agreements between the university and the neighbours themselves would not be a planning consideration for you this evening. Thank you, members.
Does that satisfy you, Councillor Beeman?
Yes, thank you very much.
Councillor Potts.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. No, that's actually clarified where I was going with my questions. Thank you.
Right, members, does anybody else wish to contribute to the debate? In that case, officers, do you have anything else to add to the debate? Gosh, in which case we can move straight to the recommendation as in your papers, in your agenda. The recommendation is that subject to conditions 1 to 3, already mentioned, and informatives 1 to 3, that the permission be granted. Can I see all those in favour of granting permission, please?
1, 2, 3.
All those against granting?
1.
And I don't think we have any abstentions. I think even I can count that. In that case, that permission is granted. Thank you very much indeed, and that's the end of the meeting. Thank you.